Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, Sahil. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
perfect. I'm audible, right?
Yeah, yeah, perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So we will decide based on the numbers. Currently, it is just showing कि it is live stream on YouTube, but आम्ही अजून हे केलं नाहीये. I mean, we have not shared a link to others, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll see.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. You want to try hey PPT? You want to test?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's working well.
Perfect. Yes. Perfect.
आणि व्हिडिओज आहे काही?
Videos as in presentation मध्ये
हां हां.
व्हिडिओज नसतील म्हणजे इट वोंट म्हणजे स्ट्रीमिंगला काही हॅम्पर नाही होणार पण थोडे
Okay.
ॲनिमेशन्स असतील.
Okay. Okay. Fine. 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 Good. Yeah, it's working well. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
So Elizabeth will join at 4 sharp, or she will join
Uh,
early.
I have a message to her.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Hi,
Yeah, hi,
Daisy.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Do you
Yeah,
hear me
thank you for
well?
joining. It's an odd time for you, but thank you for joining.
No, thank you for giving us the opportunity. Do you hear me well, or should I
Yeah, yeah,
should I
it's
use my?
better. It's better.
Oh,
Yeah, video is perfectly okay.
okay, good. Should we also try to share our slides just to check if it
Yeah,
works?
definitely. Yes, yes, please.
Okay, let me. Okay, let me try share that screen. Okay, do you
Yeah,
see my screen? Yep,
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
in
It's working well. Yeah.
presentation mode. Yep. Do you see the slides moving too?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, perfect. How do I stop sharing? Ah, it's up here. Okay, good.
Yeah. So we received 200 and I think 20 registrations. We
Wow,
are
that has
expecting,
grown since,
that's really
yes.
nice. Yeah, yeah. So we are expecting around 70 to 80 people will join today.
Yep.
If the number shoots, then we are also have a backup plan. We'll live stream it on YouTube. So let's see. I mean, maybe
Okay.
we'll start sharp at 4. Meanwhile,
Hmm.
people will join in.
What time is it where you are now? Because for
It is
me,
4 p.m. IST. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
it's 3:50 right now, but after 10 minutes we can start.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
because for
yeah.
me, it's 12:19, so I
I
had
know,
to
I know, I know.
calculate.
I can
Okay,
understand.
perfect. So
Yes,
in
yes,
10
yes.
minutes. Yeah.
Sure,
Okay,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
good.
But yeah, thank you for taking it, so promptly. And we, I mean, I think we are also signing MOU soon. So let's see. If
Yeah,
you are in India
yeah,
anytime, please stop by at Pune Knowledge
Thank
Festival.
you. Oh, that's so nice. No, thank you for giving us the opportunity. It's amazing. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Good. I think I'm gonna go to the bathroom
sure.
quickly and I'll be
Sure, sure.
back.
No problem. No
But I just
problem.
wanted
Yeah.
to make sure everything works.
Definitely. Yes, yes,
Yep.
definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll be back
Thanks,
in a
thanks,
few minutes.
Elisabeth. Yeah, yeah.
हम फिर कुठून कट करतो
Sahil, should we start?
Perfect, sure.
Yeah. Elisabeth, are you back?
Sure. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start the recording in that case.
So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, all of you. My name is Gayatri Shirsagar, and I work as a senior program manager at Pune Knowledge Cluster. Just to give you background, Pune Knowledge Cluster is a sectionate company. It is established by Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, and we are based in Pune University. And we are here to bring together academia, researchers, NGOs, policymakers, and establish a dialogue to solve city-related issues. We work in different areas. Capacity building is one of them. We work in health, education, environment, sustainability, and mobility, and also big data AI. As a part of capacity building vertical, we organize several programs for teachers and students, right from school students to the UG PG level. So, as a part of our skill initiative, this is one of the workshop which you are part of today. Today we have with us Sahil Sura and Elisabeth. Elisabeth is based in Germany, and thank you, Elisabeth, for your valuable time and joining from Germany. And Sahil is based in Pune, and I will give a brief introduction about the company. Ansys is a part of Synopsys. It is a global leader in engineering simulation software. It is helping innovators to design, test, and optimize products through advanced simulation technologies. Its solutions are widely used across industries such as aerospace, automotive, electronics, healthcare, and manufacturing. ANSYS also supports universities and students worldwide through academic programs that promote simulation driven learning and innovation. Sahil Sura, he is an academic program engineer in the office of CTO, dedicated to empowering the next generation of engineers by making advanced simulation and AI technologies accessible, practical, and impactful. With strong technical expertise in ANSYS products and finite element analysis, along with prior leadership experience as a student head and head of composites design, he brings a unique blend of engineering knowledge and mentorship to his sessions. Sahil is passionate about translating complex theoretical concepts into real world engineering solutions and actively collaborates with innovators who share a vision for a future driven smart simulation based insights. About Elisabeth, she is academic development manager supporting materials related education process, engineering, material sciences, design disciplines at universities and colleges across Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. She works closely with ANSYS Granta academic team to strengthen academic engagement while enhancing visual communication for educational initiatives. With a strong focus on advancing materials education, Elizabeth is dedicated to enabling educators and students with innovative resources that bridge technical knowledge with impactful learning experiences. Thank you, both of you, for joining our session today. And over to you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sahil.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's our pleasure. Please just confirm once the screen is visible.
Yes, Sahil, it's working well. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for such a great introduction. So it helped save some time. So as we know, this would be the agenda of today's session. Thank you so much for a great introduction for both of us. So we'll briefly understand what exactly is simulation. Then there is multifaceted thinking which happens in STEM. So what exactly is that? Why there is a need for simulation and visualization, which helps us explore beyond text. We would have a small activity, a demonstration of a STEM offering. We'll discuss more on Ansys STEM offering, and we would conclude with a summary and question and answer session. As Gayatri ma'am mentioned, that we are leaders of engineering simulation, and we have 50 plus years of innovation. With that, these are the world-class companies which leverage our software, starting right from US Army, Lockheed Martin's, Airbus, CAT, which manufactures rock crawlers and other equipments and earth move equipments, till Volvo, Ferrari, BMW, Talmar, and medical equipment manufacturers such as Philips, Pfizer, GSK, etc. So it's a quite versatile portfolio covering all these things, and these are the companies which leverage our simulation tools across various physics and other domains. So what exactly is simulation? That is the question of an hour. So we'll first start with understanding the STEM concept today. So everyone is familiar with STEM, and STEM is basically about solving problems. Problems that exist today, problems that will exist tomorrow, and problems probably we haven't imagined yet. And sometimes we solve problems that nobody needs a solution for. So let's address the last point and address a problem which no one needed a solution for. So we have an elephant across a valley, and there is a tree the elephant loves. So basically, we want to help the elephant cross this valley and reach out to his favorite tree. So what exactly can one do? Is simply add a plank acting as a bridge and help the elephant cross this bridge. Let's try crossing it, and hopefully, if the plank won't break, it would be very much difficult for us to take the elephant away from the valley. So there are two ways to basically solve this problem. Option A, we have to find a tree which elephant loves, and there should be a valley where it should be present on. We should get an elephant, get a plank, and make the elephant walk on it. Now that's pretty much risky and practical. Option B, which we have math and physics, and we can define failure safely, and then we would be able to address this kind of situation. I personally don't have an elephant and I don't have an energy to make an elephant walk. So let's stick with option B, where I know maths and I can define the failure accordingly. So basically what you want to do is basically we have to convert this physical system into a mathematical system. We should identify the object of interest first, which is the plank in this case, and then just erase all of the surroundings and convert them into a mathematical equation. In this case, the valley can be simply represented as supports acting on the plank's end, while the elephant can be simply showcased as a weight acting on the plank. Now, we have broke a complex problem into a simple one. There are different variables which govern the problem. For that, we need to know the density of the plank, what material the plank is made up of, what is the geometry of the plank, what are the forces acting on it, and we can identify the materials and forces through our surroundings. So we know much different materials which are available in our surroundings and the forces acting on the same. By simply adjusting these kind of situation, we would be able to solve this problem accurately. It's a pretty simple problem. Now, if you see in our surroundings, do you see any bridges which just have a single plank on it? Definitely no. The complexity increases when we move from a textbook problem to a real life situation. So though a textbook problem can be solved analytically, the real life complex situations, due to their increasing complexity, the analytical methods go a bit beyond what is expected. That's where these computational methods comes into picture. Now, computational methods are the simple methods where we reach out to the computer with the set of our equations, and the computer helps us solve these kind of things. We have taken inspiration from much more simple problems to design much more complex stuffs in our daily life. So for example, everyone is familiar with origami, and one can simply design a swan in origami in minutes. But do you know this origami is used in satellites to design the mirrors, the folding mirrors of the same. Similarly, a tension and a guitar string. So we are aware of this, but this same concept is used to build suspension bridges, which we see across in many regions. Let's now address the question, what exactly is simulation? So simulation basically comes from a Latin term, simulare, which means to imitate. Now we are not building a real life situation, but we are trying to imitate the real life situation. So it allows us to study the real world systems very safely. And simulations basically are conducted to many purposes. So like one is for predicting the system's behavior, troubleshooting unwanted behavior. We want to remove the latencies in the system, and that's why we can use simulation. We can validate an idea. We can try and test our idea without destructing anything physically. So that is one of the features for which the simulation can be used, optimizing the process. And the main feature is for educating students. The simulations directly work like a physical experiment. Just imagine a physical experiment where you define the problem, you identify the system of interest, then you define the working conditions and let the system function as it is, because nature here would take his job and would give us the outcomes. But in a computational environment, we have to identify what physics that needs to be studied. We have to define the geometrical behavior, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to mimic the actual physical system. We have to apply the boundary conditions. Similarly, what we defined for the elephant situation, we have to convert a physical problem into an engineering one or maybe a mathematical one. Then the computer algorithms basically replicate the physical phenomenon and we get the visualizations in the form of computer graphics. There are different situations where we see simulations, and everyone, I'm sure, is aware of it. It's very difficult for anyone to identify if that is a simulation, but if one has focused on it, everyone has seen simulation everywhere around us. So from product development to healthcare, manufacturing to games, virtual reality, transportation, education, simulation is present everywhere. Let's try understanding from a situation which everyone is aware of, which is a pot of boiling water, which we see every day. So what basically we start with, we have a stainless steel pan, we have water in it. Basically, we place the pan filled with water onto a stove. We turn on the heat, let heat do its work. The water reaches certain temperature for which the boiling starts. And having done and fulfilled with the objectives, we want to take it down from the stove. Now, basically think how would we take it down from the stove? Definitely with the use of hand. But would you touch a boiling water barehanded to take it down from a stove? Or like, would there be any certain product like a sleeve or a mitt or maybe a cloth which you would use to ensure the product comfort or maybe the safety of the user? As seen from the images on the top, if I were to touch the pan basically barehanded, the temperature observed at this end of the, let me get a pointer out here, at the handle section of the pan would basically roughly be between 86 to 64 degrees, which is much more than what a bare hand can sustain. It would definitely cause a single degree or maybe a less degree of a burn which can happen. But if sleeve or a mitt or even a cloth is in function, we can see a drastical difference being observed out here to a range of around 53 to 34 degrees, which is much more to reduce the burning which would happen and provide comfort. Now, even though the heat is same, we may get different response if we use a silicon rubber sleeve or even an aluminum foil based sleeve. If seen from here, the silicon rubber sleeve would generate the temperature of 34 degrees out here, while the aluminum one would generate a temperature of around roughly around 60 to 80 degrees Celsius. That's a situation which we see in daily life, and we definitely would avoid the aluminum one and stick to a silicone rubber sleeve or even a cloth one for our safety and comfort. Now, just recap the 5 minutes. You may feel it a bit vague, but just recap the simple experiment which we see in daily life just for 5 minutes. What did we cover in this? We were able to touch base on the states of matter. We could experiment or experience the steam formation. We are able to address the topic of boiling point, then the modes of heat transfer, conductors, what a conductor, what are insulators, and even heat and temperature. And we could do all this without even touching the pan, turning on the stove, and get insights on it. That's where we are able to touch base on the multifaceted aspects of the STEM thinking, because we are able to cover much more aspects in a very simple experiment without even touching the pan or turning on the stove. The outputs you saw from the experiment are basically in the form of computer graphics. So the basic question would be, is simulation same as animation? But animation is one of the visual languages of conveying a simulation. Simulation basically runs a mathematical code behind it, and we are able to generate the mathematical results out of it. But for us to interpret it in a better way, we have animation as one of the ways to see. Now, animation definitely emphasizes on visual storytelling, but simulation ensures the physical accuracy being maintained. Now, effective teaching uses simulation to reveal truth held by simulation. When the creative representation is grounded by the physical laws, it helps the students to reason along the realistic pathways without limiting their creativity. We are definitely up for exploring students to run their creative ideas, and we are definitely not hampering them by just showcasing animation. But what we want is when it is backed by certain kind of simulations, they are able to relate it to the actual physical laws which are happening in the nature right there. That's where these colors you see play a very vital role. For example, this is the arch which showcases the high impact and low impact zones out here. With these kind of situations, one would be able to really correlate such things when he sees in the daily life. Simulation is a very beautiful tool because it helps students or anyone to see what's beyond the text or what's beyond the eyes cannot see. If seen from here, we are able to see how the forces or load is being traversed from these kind of stone arches in a very beautiful sense seen in the simulation image before they basically fail or break. Such kind of insights play a very vital role for them to develop the curiosity amongst them. It can be simple, water flowing from a capillary tube to showcase how the water exactly or a plant gets its water from the roots, etc. And simulation can be fun in such ways like you can develop drones, you can see a paperclip animation or wooden logs falling, but it is very much essential to develop very critical applications such as inhaler, a PCB in a very critical condition, the F1 cars which we see the match every Sunday, even drones, axle of the wheels, etc. So with that, I would like to hand over the presentation to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Sahil. Let me share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you, Sahil. So let's keep in mind what Sahil talked about, what simulation is and using the visual nature of simulation. So what we tried to do is we created education resources for pre-university education. So to encourage the next generation to keep, I would say to keep, because they have a natural enthusiasm about STEM topics usually, to keep this enthusiasm and encourage them to find out more about STEM topics and not be intimidated by any like math or science. Now, for pre-university education, obviously, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind. So we try to make the resources as user-friendly as possible for the teachers to be as flexible as possible, because we know every school works differently. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time to actually use external things because you have a set curricula that you need to follow. So we try to make them as versatile and user-friendly as possible. So there are different formats, paper formats or infographics and PowerPoint slides and games, and I will show you examples later. There are also different time spans. There are resources that you can just spend 10 minutes on them if you only have 10 minutes to spare, but it's definitely better than nothing already. Or you can use them for several hours, for several sessions, for summer school or whatever. And you need little to no equipment, basically no equipment, no prior knowledge is needed to use those. So that was important for us when we create those resources to keep that in mind. Also, our main aim was to inspire the kids. That's the main aim here. Keep their curiosity and inspire them. So we tried to pick examples from everyday life that kids can relate to, and we tried to make the resources as visual and simple as possible so that the kids are engaged. So topics like my grandma got a new hip. What actually needs to be done so that she can get a new hip? Or things like, what is lithium? Everyone talks about lithium, but what is it actually, and why does everyone talk about it? Or things like, why does my walkie-talkie not work when I go around the corner, for example? And other things like when you walk around and you see these shapes, the arch, and you might think, why did they build this shape back in the day? Why did they not just, build a straight beam across the opening? Why not? So we're exploring these topics that are relatable for kids in an easy visual way to inspire them to think about those things, be curious, ask questions, discuss among peers. And then every resource has a facilitator's guide attached to it. Which within the guide, it's explained how to use the resource, but also it has suggestions on further exercises to expand on that topic. So if you have more time and you felt like that's a topic that the kids are interested in, let's dive deeper into the topic. So basically, it's simply about answering the kids everyday questions that they have and give them food for thought. That was our main intention behind those resources. So it's a simple context, a concept. So, for example, if a child is sick and he or she needs to inhale medicine, they might ask, and I know my kids do, why do I need to inhale the medicine? Can I not just simply take a pill? Because inhaling takes much longer and it's boring. So they usually ask me this. And then as a teacher or a parent, you want to be able to answer those questions, but you don't have answers to all those questions. You don't know everything. And even if you do, it's hard to explain. These are physical concepts that are not easy to explain. So what would help are visuals. A picture is worth 1,000 words. It's really like that. If you see something, it's just so much clearer. And also, rather than just answering a question, it's probably good to explore the answer together. And that's also, again, something that we kept in mind creating those resources. Now, we wanted to set appropriate goals. So the goal here is not for every school to use simulation or anything like that. It's more to make the kids think, let them walk through life with open eyes and question everything, stay curious, and then explore answers together and not just serve them with an answer and not say, I don't know. And also get them talking, because I think that kids sometimes are afraid to come across as a nerd or something when you're interested in a topic, a scientific topic. You don't want to, look, uncool. So get them talking about those topics, because it is actually fun and no one needs to be embarrassed that they have these questions. So we want to just support that. It doesn't cost anything. There's no prior knowledge necessary, neither from the kids nor from the teacher. And simulation is a tool to explore the answers to the questions, to visualize the invisible. And it's a tool, it's not the goal. So the resources provide simple context that fuels curiosity. There's built-in group work to help the kids feel safe discussing meaningful topics with each other. Okay, so now we want to practice what we preach. So we say all these things, flexible, involve them, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we thought the best way in this webinar is to not just tell you about our resources, but actually going through a resource with you. So the next few slides, is a bit of an activity time, although I have to say we are in a webinar setting and there are a lot of people joining today, which is great, but it won't be as interactive as it would be in your classroom with your students, obviously. So keep that in mind, but you're now slipping mentally in the role of a student, and I'm basically the teacher and presenting a resource about a certain topic to you, and then hopefully you will see all the different opportunities how you can engage the kids and how I will try to engage you. However, again, we are in a webinar setting, so there will not be as much interaction as it would be in the classroom. But just to keep that in mind. So we're talking about from inhaler to lungs. So you have to inhale medicine, and what actually happens when you inhale that medicine. So I have a question to you. Have you ever had to use an inhaler? So you could ask the students in your class, anyone who had ever had to use when they were sick an inhaler. And then, you spend some time talking about it. And take your time. So what actually is an inhaler? So an inhaler is a small, easy to hold device that helps you breathe better. Like when you have a bad cold or cough, or some people have asthma. It releases medicine as a fine spray, so tiny liquid drops. They're called particles. And you breathe them deep into your lungs. Then there's something that's called the respiratory system in your body. So you see an image here. The respiratory system is the part of your body that lets air move in and out through your nose and mouth. And it has a set of tubes. The biggest tube is the trachea, and that carries air to your lungs. And then it splits into two smaller tubes. These are the bronchi. And one is going to each lung. And then inside the lungs, there are even more branches branching out. They're called at the end, there are these little bubbles. They're called the bronchioles. And they deliver then the oxygen that you breathe in to the blood. Now, let's do this together. Let's try and feel our respiratory system. Take a deep breath. So try this. Put one hand on your chest and one on your belly and take a deep breath in. Can you feel the chest and belly move? So that's your lungs filling with air. So you can actually feel the respiratory system in your body when you breathe. Now, when you're sick, what's going on then? When you're sick, you have problems breathing. That's because your airways are narrowed. So these little tubes are narrowed because they're inflamed or there's mucus, and the air, it doesn't, flow as easily. So what the inhaler does, it sends medicine as a spray right into your lungs through those tubes. So, and the medicine helps open up those airways that are blocked. It opens them up again so that the air can flow better again. That's what the medicine does. But it needs to get there from the mouth into the lungs. That's crucial. And that's what we need to understand. So can you now think about why inhale medicine and not take a pill? What do you think? And again, you can spend some time with your students then discussing in class and asking them what they think. So when you inhale medicine, it goes straight into the airways. So it works much more quickly than a pill. We need a smaller dose because it goes directly where it's needed. And it helps the tiny tubes in your lungs open up, and a pill couldn't do that. So that's why it's important to inhale the medicine. Now, there are different kinds of inhalers. There's a pressurized inhaler with a spacer. There's a nebulizer. Why do you think there are different kinds of inhalers? So again, let them think, let them talk with each other. Why? And maybe they've used some of them. They can talk about that. Now, everyone breathes differently. And maybe you can even practice that in class with the kids. Everyone has a different style of breathing. So a pressurized inhaler, it sprays the medicine quickly, and you need to breathe as you press it. And the spacer is a tube. So this tube here, that's called the spacer, that holds the medicine inside the tube for a few seconds. So you have more time to breathe in the medicine. And the nebulizer, that makes a mist. It's like a fog filled with medicine. And you breathe through this mask. So here you have even more time. This is usually really useful for kids who cannot do the timing so well. So the timing is key. So let's do a little exercise to try timing. So try this. Tap your finger on the table and breathe in at the same time as you tap the finger on the table. And breathe out. And try this 3 times. I can even feel it that it's difficult doing this. So did you breathe in exactly when your finger touched the table? Or did you lose a second? Did it work all the same all the 3 times? It didn't for me, actually. I just felt it. That's a bit like using a pressurized inhaler. Because ideally, you need to breathe in exactly when you press the inhaler. And when the timing is not right, you might lose some of the medicine. So some find it easy, but some also find it very tricky to time that correctly. Why is timing important? So we will find that out as we go through this. So getting the medicine where it is needed. When you press the inhaler, the medicine comes out quickly. So it needs your inhaling motion to suck in the medicine into your lungs. If you breathe in a bit later, it might actually get stuck on the wall here. So because you didn't suck it in, it gets stuck on the inside of your mouth and in your throat. It gets stuck to the wall, some of the medicine. And not everything actually reaches your lungs and is going where it's needed. So that's why timing is so difficult and important. So a spacer inhaler slows that down because the medicine is held here in that spacer and you have more time to breathe it in. What else do you think could get in the way before the medicine reaches the lungs? Think about the respiratory system that we talked about. Do you think it's an easy path to actually get to the lungs? And you can discuss that in class again and spend some time with the kids on this. So let's think this through together, right? Let's explore the answer together. So imagine this. You press the button of the inhaler, releasing the medicine. The medicine particles move from the inhaler straight into your mouth first, through the spacer and then into your mouth. From the mouth, they go into the respiratory system, those tubes we talked about, trying to get to the lungs. if you were, now imagine you were a particle, one of those medicine drops trying to get to the lungs. Think what could get in your way. Now let's think this through. It's not a straight path from the mouth to the lungs. You've seen that. There's so many crossroads. So the medicine moves into the respiratory system, and how it actually reaches the lungs is a very complex process, actually. You know, for example, the person is sick, so the person could cough, and that coughing could throw and shake those particles all over the place. Or mucus could block the tubes, creating narrow passageways. And think of a river. When a river gets more narrow, usually the water speeds up. So also the speed of the medicine changes as the tubes change. So it's important to look at all those things. Also, whether the particles are the right size or not, that also makes a difference, whether they're big particles or small particles. So this is actually a very complex problem that you need to solve here as an engineer. And to understand, there's so many things you need to consider. So designing an inhaler can be quite puzzling because there's so many things to consider, as we just talked about. Airflow speed, how quickly the medicine can turn into gas, for example, because it can evaporate, density, particle size, the geometry of the inhaler, but also the geometry of your mouth, temperature. So many things. And that sounds really overwhelming, actually. Now, experts understand this process and the science behind it, but then they also ask a computer for help, and that is called simulation. So what they do is they feed all this information that they have into the computer, and the computer, the simulation software, helps them put the correct pieces together. That's basically what the software does. It helps them find the answer to the problem. Now, maybe you can discuss in class whether you've heard of simulation before, have you seen other examples of simulation, and how it can be helpful. So how to do a simulation, we've talked about this, but just in case of the inhaler, and then I'm going to show you an example. So you build a 3D model on the computer, because you cannot just tell the computer, you need to build the model. And that includes the inhaler, but also the spacer, and also the mouth and throat geometry and the respiratory system. You need to build all of that, a 3D model on the computer. Then you tell the computer everything you know, at which speed the medicine comes out, how big are the medicine particles, what temperature is outside the body, inside the body, and all of those things. And the software helps you find out. Now, you need to tell the software what you actually want to find out. You want to know whether particles get stuck, how much is actually reaching the lungs, where are there turbulences, where are there areas where those drops could be thrown around. And then you run a simulation, you check the results, and then you can do changes. You can say, oh, okay, my particles are too big. I need to make them smaller. This is not working. And then you can run the simulation again until you're happy with the best result you can get. Now, let's look at a simulation of this. This makes it visible what actually you wouldn't be able to see. Okay, because for those who have tried an inhaler, you do the thing, but you don't see what's happening. This is actually invisible, but simulation makes this visible, and this is much easier than to study and to understand. Now, let's look at this. This is the colors represent the temperature. And notice also, after even the medicine was released, there's still medicine in the spacer. So you can see how it slows down and how you have much more time to breathe the medicine in. Now, also notice how the particles slow down in the spacer. They come out quick and then they slow down. Also, in this area, you can actually see turbulence. You can see how the particles are thrown around. And then also you can see different speeds. Here, they're really fast, and then there are places where they're really slow. So you can also see different speeds of the particles. And also, now I need to wait a bit. You can see that particles actually get stuck to the wall. So you are losing a bit of medicine. Now, in this simulation, the color is the particle size. And here is interesting to see that, so red is bigger, blue is smaller, that when it comes out, the particles are much bigger, and then they very quickly actually become smaller and then they stay the same size. Now, why is that? That is actually because scientists have found out that you need a bit bigger particle to be able for it to come out quickly, but for inhaling, it would be better if it's smaller. So actually the medicine is quite small, but it has a helper liquid around it to be able to move out quickly. That helper liquid then dissolves, it evaporates, it turns into gas, and only the medicine is left, and you breathe in the medicine. Now, you see how much information simulation can give you. Temperature changes, airflow, the effects of the spacer, whether particles stick to the wall, changes in particle size, and so much more that we haven't looked at. So it helps really expert to predict how the medicine will spread. It can suggest changes and predict how changes will affect the outcome. You can go through what-if scenarios. What if I make the particle smaller? What if I release it more quickly? And all those things. And all of that without having to test it on a human first, which definitely in that case is very helpful. So in summary, an inhaler releases medicine that you can breathe into your lungs. The medicine helps open up your airways. And there are many things that can keep the medicine from getting into the lungs. So simulation helps with studying this complex process. It helps predict where the medicine will go. It can make suggestions how to improve it and to get the medicine, as much medicine as possible, to the lungs. All right. Now, this was an example of a resource that we created. Obviously, I didn't want to teach you today how an inhaler works, but I wanted to showcase you how the resources work. So now you can, now you're the teacher again and can think about how you could apply something like this in your class. So I just wanted to summarize, now you've seen an example of a resource that we have. And now I want to show you the other resources that we've created, all with a similar concept in mind. But now you understand the concept as you've seen it. So here are the resources that we created. As I said in the beginning, we have created different formats for them to be really flexible in use. So we have a set of slides that usually tell a story, like the inhaler that you've just seen. But we also have resources on different topics, but they're the same style, those slides. We also have resources that are an infographic with activity cards. I will talk a bit more about this in a second. We have games, and we also have paper style resources. So just to give a quick summary about every category, and then we're going to sum up. And so there are the slides to tell a story. You've just seen the inhaler. So usually we try to pick relatable topics. It's more in storytelling type. It's very visual. We're using the visual nature of simulation to make the invisible visible and help with understanding the concept. And there are usually these built-in questions to involve the students. So there are topics like the walkie-talkie, or which material selection for musical instruments. So why would the material matter? Also product development, how it has changed from making products prettier or faster to also considering the environment nowadays. Or also, as I said in an example before, the arch. Why did people, build an arch and not just a straight beam? This is one of my favorites. And then we have a different format. These are infographics with activity cards. Now, so far we have 4 of them. And the idea here is it's a poster in poster size, so you can print it out. And even if you don't have any time you can spend with your kids, you can just hang it on the wall. And even if that's the only thing you can do, there might be some kids who are intrigued and look at the poster and have learned something. So that's the first step. Even if you don't have time, you can stick that poster on the wall. It's colorful and visual, and some kids might look at it. If you have more time, you can use the activity cards. There are a set of activity cards, and they have very simple questions on the front and then answers on the back. So you can do some group work. You can group the kids in several groups, and the questions are very simple. The idea here is to get the kids talking about this and thinking about the topic, not to have difficult questions. So with Grandma's hip, it would be more something like, do you also have a relative who has an artificial part, a knee or whatever, or what other artificial parts of your body do you know, except and like other than the hip? Or this one is about scientists finding out that these bumps here on whale fins, they're called tubercles, actually help the whale make more agile movements, make sharp turns. And they applied that to wind turbines. So now some of the wind turbines actually have also little bumps because it makes them much more effective. And we talk about that on the poster. And then activity cards ask other things like, do you know other animals who do really cool things? And what could you imagine? How could we use that to build something else? And then there are also a set of slides going with the poster that talk about fluid flow and explain why these bumps help from a fluid flow perspective, but in a very simple way. Or the lithium poster talking about, what is lithium? Where is it from? Why does everyone talk about it? And a poster about all the different fields of engineering, because we have seen that there's a lot of misconception about engineering, or people only see one side of engineering, building cars, but there's so much to engineering, and we try to convey that in this poster, the activity cards, and also a set of slides. And again, all these resources have a facilitator's guide that also gives suggestions on expanding exercises on this topic if this is not enough for you. So it can grow from just hanging a poster on the wall, no time, to like really digging deep into the topic. Games, I don't think I need to explain a lot about games, but they're very versatile. So a card game about material properties, about manufacturing processes. This one is also about material properties. But this can really be an icebreaker activity when you have a new class. They don't know each other yet. It's age independent, I would say. So you can even do this at a teacher-parents conference to break the ice, maybe. Or in a workshop scenario. And then we have one that's a paper style because this digs a bit deeper into the topic. So this is a bit more advanced, but it also has questions built in to engage the students, and the facilitator's guide with expanding exercises. We also support STEM initiatives like STEM racing, for example, and also create resources with them, for them. So I just wanted to mention that if anyone knows of STEM racing is one of the examples, for example, that we are also involved in these kinds of initiatives. Okay, so to sum up, our real hope here is, we're not expecting every school to use simulation. It's more our hope is that when kids are trying to solve a problem, like the elephant getting him across the valley to his favorite tree, that they, instead of just putting a plank and risking the safety of the elephant, hopefully the kids will find a safe solution through science. So in this case, for example, simulation, testing it first. How thick does the plank need to be for the elephant to be safe and happy? Okay, so, I'd like to encourage you, try it, test it. The resources are all for free. Apply the concept to your ideas. So if you have ideas about different topics, but you like the concept that we apply to the resources, feel free to try it with your topics in your class. And if you're willing to share and collaborate on resources, don't hesitate to contact us. So this just explains, but I think we can also put the link into the chat, how to get to those resources. If you go to the website, you just need to filter pre-university, and then you will see the resources that I just mentioned. For those schools who actually want to try using the software, there is a free student download and lots of courses also how to train yourself on the software. So I wanted to mention that. But again, the main goal is really to inspire the kids, keep their curiosity alive, and show them there are ways to find solutions to problems using science. All right. So I'm gonna go out here. I don't really see if there are questions but we would have time for a bit of Q&A, I think.
Yes, we have 30 minutes Q&A. And we are getting good responses in the chat box. Like many teachers are quite enthusiastic about taking this in their classrooms. So please, teachers, please raise your hand if you want to ask any questions.
So I have shared a link in the chat to our resources, which are free to use, as Elizabeth showed. They can be
Thanks, Sahil.
simply downloaded and used into different formats. I've also added a link in the chat for a free student download for Ansys Discovery, where you can try your hands on onto the simulation tool. Please feel free to reach out to us. If there are any doubts, I'd be more than happy to address them. We both would be. If कोणाला काही मराठीत doubts असतील, if there are any doubts in the regional languages, I'd be more than happy to address in Marathi, Hindi. So please feel free to ask questions. And yeah,
I just saw that in the comments section, if I may pick this up. But if anyone wants to jump in and ask a question, please do. But I think there's someone who asked whether there was a pre-test. So these resources are fairly new. They're, so we're happy for any feedback. We have some who've tested it, but it's really a very new concept and new resources. So we would appreciate any feedback.
and we are actually also open to develop collaborative resources. So if you have any ideas, do reach out to us. We have our email showcased, or even you can reach out to Pune Knowledge Cluster, and we would be able to come up with a collaborative resource.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sahil. I think now we are getting questions from the participants. I think Syed Salman, he raised a hand.
Yeah, no, I think Sahil had answered already. Just I was about, what if I have some idea, I really wanted to make that simulation class. Will it be feasible to collaborate? Just I was thinking, and he answered my point.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Great, sir.
Yeah. Could you please share that email IDs, because I was unable to take the screenshot. If you can go back to that slide, I'll just take the screen, and if it's possible, we can collaborate on that.
Yeah, with our contact details, you mean?
Yeah, like
That
the
one?
email IDs. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Sailan, there is a question by Radhika. Is the resources are free of cost, or they need to buy a subscription? I think Elizabeth already answered, but you can please take it ahead. I mean, Sahil or Elizabeth, any one of you.
Yeah, those are totally free of cost. Many of them you would see Elizabeth as a developer, and those are all free of cost. There is no need of subscription. You can directly download from our website, and they are ready to use.
Kalpesh has asked. He is from Namtodani School, and he is asking how it can be taken to the regular curriculum. Kalpesh, if you want to ask, you can unmute and please ask Sahil or Elizabeth.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, Kalpesh, yes.
Yes, thank you. That was a nice session. And the activities are very much interested, especially those schools who are having adult tinkering labs, they can easily inculcate. But two schools from our own institutions are not having such facility. So I was just curious if you want to add some note regarding how to include this in the regular classroom teachings. We can like, as I was listening, I can think of few small events or group activities in the like we have off hours, teacher is not there and other teacher engages, we can conduct activities. If you can add more, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you want to answer Sahil or me. All I can say is that I'm not as familiar with the school system in India. So, and that's the tricky part about those resources and pre-university teaching, that it's very across the globe. It's very different in every country. I see here in Germany that sometimes, and from having kids as well, they have a bit of downtime, and they would have time, but then they do a lot of reading. I mean, reading is great, but they would have time, but I feel like the teachers don't feel like they have the courage, because they feel like they would have to bring knowledge into it, and that's the concept we used, is that you don't actually have to bring knowledge into it. But I don't know. Yeah, in India, Sahil, maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, those, as mentioned, these are all ready to use resources. There are many different kinds of resources. Some are instructor driven, some are peer-to-peer driven. There can be games which can be played into it. That we have a material card game, and these can be included into curriculum within quite ease. So if you need any help, do reach out to us on our mail, and we'd be more than happy to support and help you on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Silence. Many actually participants are asking how, if they have any idea and they want to create it as a resource, what is the process they need to follow?
Oh, to reach out to us first.
Yeah. So if they have some
Definitely.
concepts
So
and how they can convert it into a kind of a simulation. Because now in India, just to give you a background, Elizabeth, we have different
Mhm,
kind of boards. So the
mhm.
syllabus is, I mean, of course, the it ranges across boards. But if there are teachers who really want to take one concept, let's say Newton's law, or let's say some chemical equations, or in concept, let's say a circulatory system, something like that. So how they can take, I mean, if they have a concept ready, what are the process? Like, let's say they need to create some storyline, or they need to create some questions, or what are the processes if they want to convert it into some kind of a simulation? Or let's say if they want to collaborate with Ansys, how like what kind of materials they need to submit, like a concept note or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing would be to email Sahil and me, because I think that every situation might be very individual, and we would discuss that. There's no like specific process or form that they need to fill out. It will be more like discussing on an individual basis how we can best help them. I should say that there are more resources than the ones that I presented. These are really for they're standalone, and you can use them in the classroom. But there are more resources if you actually want to dive into simulation and use simulation. There are much more resources on that website, the education resource website, or on the Ansys Innovation Space. We can post the links in the chat where you can find courses on how to learn simulation, or also if you untick the pre-university tick here, you can find more than 300 resources on different topics at a higher level, but that also use simulation. So yeah, but there's no specific process or form that they need to fill in to collaborate or create a resource with us together. Sahil, would you add anything?
No, I think it's summed up. Actually, we have basically the tailored content varying from pre-university level to the postgraduate level. So there are different multiple physics being covered out there. As you can see out here, there are certain things. As you can see, Newton's law also gets repeated in engineering and also in the pre-university kind of situation. We do have certain kinds of resources, even for fluids, mechanical systems, materials, optics. You can see how the light bends when using certain kind of lenses. So do check out, do just have a look through it, and as mentioned, if in need, do drop any one of us an email.
Yes, Sahil. So can you please go through different areas which Ansys platform is offering? Because I think Kanchan Joshi, she's asking, do you have any resources for a mathematics or a fractions concept?
Okay. So
Sahil, do you want to take that?
yeah, sure, sure. So since it being an engineering simulation company, uh, we would more focus on the application oriented side of the things. To cover such kind of mathematics, you would really appreciate
Mhm.
if they would have certain kinds of application where they see such kind of fractions which happen in their daily life situations. So we would be more than happy to create such kind of resources onto that. But pure mathematical resources, we haven't developed yet. But we do encourage something which are much more in the application oriented sense, because as you can see from one of the resources which Elizabeth showcased, like the whale's fin and a turbine blades design. So that's such a phenomenal or a beautiful concept to for anyone to relate these kind of things, and both are in a varied concept. So if you want to create some resource on fractions or maybe certain kinds of mathematical aspects, you would more than be happy to explain those in a certain kinds of engineering or any application sense.
Thank you so much, sir, for your guidance.
Yes, perfect.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, Anirmal Chan. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Sahil ji and Elizabeth ma'am. You have shown in a very short span of time, you have really created the interest in the simulation. My question is, if suppose I am creating some simulation based on some mathematics, like suppose quadratic equation, very basic actually, then I think when it is simulation generating some values, if I put some slider or something that changing the values of variable, then my question is how to decide the accuracy of the model.
Okay. Perfect. So, is it fine if I answer it? So, yeah, so as we got to know that simulations basically is something where we mimic the real life situations and we predict what exactly would happen next time when the real life situation would repeat itself, or maybe in another sense. Physical validation is something that we always and always refer to when creating such kind of simulations. So it goes into a bit mathematical concepts where if you say you are developing quadratic equations. So quadratic equations are basically closed loop form of solutions where you get an exact answer for the equation which you're solving. Whereas these simulations, they use numerical methods which use an approximate form of solutions. Now, there would definitely be a difference between the exact form and an approximate form. That's what called as error. Now, minimizing that error, that's where the simulation industry works its best in. So the best data you input to your simulation model, most biggest results you would get. If you meet any of the simulation people out there, they usually have a very common saying that garbage in is equal to garbage out. But I want to reframe it and say in if you put in gold in, you would get gold out. So the more focus you keep on your data, your mathematical model, or any of the simulation, you will get a very good result. And definitely it should be validated by analytical equations. So let's say if you're developing anything for quadratic equations, maybe you're trying to trace a path of a projectile, which is going in a quadratic motion. You can simply draw it, trace it, develop a graph of it, and come up with the results of the same. Or you can simulate it in Ansys Discovery, which is one of our solvers. Trace a path, match it with your physical graph, and maybe you can get the result. If you have time, you can also trace it physically, but that's something depends on the time and effort of the educators.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Great answer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
This is Charles from Cyrus Punawala. Actually, my question is, whatever free links you have given here for this use to in the school, can we directly take it from the website while teaching? Is it good for that way, or we will make a PPT like as the Elizabeth ma'am has done, and then pre-plan it and then show to the students, which will be the better way? Thank you.
I'm sorry, would you please repeat the question?
Yeah, the you have shared the link here for the free informatics, whatever you have given, right? So
Yes.
in that you have given the stimulations, right? So they
Yes.
have given as you have shown here infographics, right?
Yes.
So can we use this directly in the classwork when we are teaching, or we could go for the PPT making and then we will pre-plan it and then show to the students. That will be more better.
Okay. So as mentioned, these resources are developed in a ready-to-use format. So if you can check onto our website, you would see what exactly is being offered with that resource. There are ready-to-use PPT, there are ready-to-use models. So if you want, you can change and use the PPT into your sense. But as mentioned, the direct ready-to-use PPTs are, or even case study formats are available on the resource itself.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Sahil, sorry to interrupt, but
So
can you please show it on the website so that other participants can also understand how they can explore the platform actually, or the
Yes,
resources?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see my screen still? Yeah.
Yes, Elizabeth. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So I'm on the website. This is the Ansys Education Resources website, where we have all of the resources also for university usage and so on. Then there are lots of filters that you can apply. And under discipline, you would tick pre-university teaching, and that would filter out only those resources for pre-university teaching that we've shown you today. And then you can just scroll through. Here's the inhaler, for example. So maybe let me click on the inhaler. And you just click on it and say download, and it downloads the facilitator's guide and the PowerPoint presentation. So that's all. You don't have to put in any information really. You just click on download and get the files. Some of the resources, not many, also do have a simulation file for those who actually have the software, but most of them don't. They're very simple. It's just PowerPoint or a PDF for the poster and a PDF for the activity cards. Yeah, that's basically it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. One more thing, ma'am. Can we give the this type of stimulations means directly whatever you have shown on the link? We can use it directly. I can understand, but are there any plans for the students to do on their own
Yeah. So
for self study?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, they're very self-explanatory. So even the slides I showed today, if you don't have time to present it to them, but they have a bit of on their own time, they can also just go through the slides themselves because they're very intuitive and very self-explanatory. And then also the activity cards, maybe you just need to group them into groups, but then they're on their own, they're discussing them on their own. If we have time, I can also open the whale resource maybe and show you set of activity cards.
Yeah. Elizabeth, we have a time. You can please take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just find the resource. So maybe you can take another question and Sahil can answer it while I look for the resource.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Elisabeth. Sahil, just to add, can you just explain teachers about the STEM race, which Elisabeth mentioned in her presentation? Like, what is the competition? What are the timelines look like, and how Ansys help teachers or students to participate in such competitions?
Oh yeah, sure. So many of us would be aware of Formula One racing, which is popularly known as F1 racing. So the organizing committee had an initiative called F1 in schools. So I can quickly share the screen if it's fine. So yeah, this is the page which is called STEM Racing. It is supported by Formula One, and we do have partners with them. So it is basically a racing competition where students or kids develop a kind of Formula One based cars, which would be okay. There is an ad loading up, but you would be able to see this kind of Formula One car, which is 3D printed, and they race it. Before even 3D printing it, they kind of design the car itself using a software called Ansys Discovery. It's a very powerful software because you get quite rapid design insights. Usually, a high-end simulation would take around 3 to 4 hours to get simulated or to get validated or the results to be generated. But with Ansys Discovery, you are able to generate it within few minutes or maybe seconds. So to get very good early design stage insights. So students kind of design, make this car and compete along with the peers. As far as I know, there are certain teams in Pune itself. They are participating in such kind of events, which happens in India. So I'm exactly not sure on the timeline of it, but if needed, I can also add the link for STEM racing in the chat so that the schools itself can do check for the same. Also, I would like to also showcase, sorry, I'm stealing a bit of time, but I can also showcase if anyone wants to learn simulation, we have a platform called Ansys Innovation Space. I've added the link in the chat. You can download the student version itself just by clicking the STEM category out here. These are the kind of tutorials which students can get their hands on, and try on themselves. So this is more towards the student offering, while the educator resources, which we discussed in the webinar previously, are targeted towards both the students and educators. So anyone who wants to explore such kind of things like physics of drag, what happens exactly, what is solid modeling, how can one design a skateboard, or how do things fly in sky. So such kind of things can be explored out here. So yeah.
So can you please share the link in the chat box of this?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect.
Okay. Should I share my screen again and show the other resource?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to explain again. So I've shown you the inhaler today. So now I'm going to show you another format so that you also see a different format. Plus, I love the topic. Sorry, I'm so excited about these topics. But also for you to see a different format, because some have asked, self-learning, or that they wouldn't have time, and often the kids would do some things on their own. So I wanted to show the infographic and activity cards format, because that probably really lends itself, and also the games, I guess. But so I'm going to show you an infographic with activity cards. So what you would download are several, for that one with the whale, several formats. So first of all, there is a README file or a facilitator's guide that comes with the download. Now, in that facilitator's guide, just to show you, it explains how the resource is structured and how you can use it. It talks about the poster, what the poster explains. So maybe I think we have time. So let me go through this. So the poster or infographic explains how sometimes great achievements of nature lead to engineering breakthroughs. In this case, there's a character called Professor Mimicry, explains how researchers have found that the tubercles on the edge of a humpback's whale fin enable the whale to take sharp turns, and so on. So it explains what's on the poster. Then it explains the activity cards, and there's also a set of slides that comes with it. So that's in the facilitator's guide, an explanation about the structure of the resource. It gives you a list of the content, age range, and I mean, we created these with pre-university teaching in mind, but I really like to stress that these resources are actually for any age. So because it doesn't matter, the questions on the activity cards, it really depends on if you're someone who knows more than a 6-year-old, then your answer would be just filled with more information. But that wouldn't stop you from talking to someone about the topic. And also not knowing a lot when you're with your same age group, it doesn't really matter. The main aim is to talk about these topics, think about them, be curious. Okay, so it talks about the age range, learning objectives, format suggestions. So we usually have in those resources also, we're suggesting a format how you could use this. So poster plus activity card. So the facilitator presents the poster, allowing time for questions. That could take just 5 minutes, walking the kids through the poster. Then you could do group work and so on. So it explains how we think you could use this as a suggestion.
Seni var ya seni. Ne yapıyorsun? Yürü. Terbiyesiz.
And then at the end, it also has suggestions for other activities if you want to expand on the topic, plus links to other resources that are, similar. So that's what the facilitator guide does. And every resource of those pre-university resources has a facilitator's attached to it. Okay, then there's the poster. It actually is a poster size, I think A1, but it also works if you print it out on letter size or A4. That works as well. So you can still read the text. That was something that I tried to really focus on, that you could also print it out as a handout rather than a poster, because you want to be flexible. So for those who said, you mentioned self-learning, you could also print out the poster instead of using it as a poster, print it out and hand it out to the kids to take home with them maybe, or to do in class when they have this time where they do self-study. Then either the teacher walks the kids through the poster or they read on their own. They're very self-explanatory and visual. So this talks about the topic, the tubercles, what are those, and so on, and what researchers have found out. And it gives context to the story. Then there are the activity cards. So this basically tells a visual story, the poster. And then the activity cards are for group work. I think this resource has 7 activity cards. Some have 5. So you would either do 5 groups of children, up to 7 groups. And then they have very simple questions on them. So things like, have you ever seen something that humans made that looks like something in nature? And these are questions that I think kids could have a lot of fun with. And then on the other side, so they're not allowed to turn around the card. I mean, obviously you have to trust the kids, but even if they turn around the card, they can still talk about it. So on the other side, it gives you possible answers like planes look like birds, submarines move like fish, and Velcro copies plant births. And for those who were very quick already, there is a mastermind question. If they need another question. What other animals or plants do you think we could copy to make something new? And then there is a turned around answer so that it's not so easy to read. We want to stop them from reading the answer immediately. And it talks about, like a cactus for water saving bottles, for example. So there are suggestions for answers then. What else? If you could build a robot, what animal would you copy and why? Maybe a frog to jump, or a snake to slither, or a bat for flight and echolocation, or an elephant. We're back to the elephant for strength and memory. And a mastermind question: what job would your robot do, and how would the animal's characteristics help it do that job? So, and then their answers. So they're very, very simple questions, but fun questions for the kids to talk about that topic. And they can spend, if you want them to, they can spend, let them spend time on it. Because the main aim here really is for them to talk. Now, this resource also has a set of slides that comes with it, because the Grandma's Hip doesn't have slides. But for this one, if you want to understand why those tubercles help the whale do agile movements, that's why we created the slides. We really wanted to explain that and also use simulation to explain it. So these slides actually go through aerodynamics and fluid dynamics. It explains in a very simple way. This is the content. What is aerodynamics and what is fluid dynamics? Let's look at whales and water, wind turbines and air, why the tubercles help, and making the invisible visible. So maybe if I look at the slides like this, or is this too small? Can people still see this? I just want to show like the overall picture. It also has like activities in it, like we just did with the inhaler. That, for example, here, hold a strip of paper and then blow on it, and will it fly? Those kinds of things. So little activities, again, to explain aerodynamics and fluid flow, or it takes a river as an example to understand things that water sometimes, like here, this is a very calm river, but even when you put your hand in a calm river, the water starts swirling and splashing. So you're creating turbulences, and that's called drag force. So it explains those concepts in a very simple and relatable way. And it also, it needs to talk about generating energy as well, because we're talking about wind turbines. And then it explains why those tubercles help. So, if you have nothing, water will flow in an uncontrolled way. But if you have, say, something like this, it's more controlled. And that's actually what the tubercles do. Sorry, now I'm diving into the topic. So yeah, it has those explanations, and then also some simulation images to show, how it would help the airflow. And for kids, to stay curious, look up and see, can you spot some of the tubercles? Because actually, it also talks about not throwing away all the wind turbines that we already have, but actually scientists then made these little vortexes that they attach to the already existing wind turbines. So if you want to spot them, you probably need binoculars because they're very small, but you might spot some of those little things that they attached to the blades now, which work like the tubercles on the whale fin. Okay, that's it. Sorry, now I maybe got you know drifted away a bit. Yeah, so that's an example of another resource and maybe something that's also lends itself, especially the activity cards for and the poster for self-learning.
Thank you, ma'am. It's really nice to hear this session. I joined. I'm very happy for this. It's really nice
Thank you.
to saw this out. Yes, we
Thank
will
you.
definitely use this.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And give us feedback, please. I'm happy to hear feedback. Any kind of feedback.
Yeah. Any other questions from participants? And also, like those who have missed, like I think two, three people, they have said that they logged out due to technical reasons. But yeah, I mean, we would like to assure that you will not miss any of the things which was shared during the session. We'll be sharing all the resources over email. And also, the certificate of participation will be given to all the participants. Maybe you will receive in next 2 days. So be patient. And if there are no questions, we can conclude it. I will wait for a few seconds. If there are any questions, please, I request those participants to raise their hands. I think there are no more questions. Just a small request before we close. We would like to take a group photo. So I request all the participants to switch on their cameras so that we'll take a group photo. Yeah, Sheetal, can you take photos at your end also? Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Elisabeth and Sahil, for such a wonderful session. And I think a lot of new ideas came as a feedback from teachers. And we look forward to more such sessions. And for participants, I think I'm pretty sure that you will reach out to Sahil or Elisabeth if you have uh, already developed few ideas during the session. And it's very important because in the world of AI, when creativity and innovation is quite important, and such a platform is providing it as a free resource, and I think we should definitely take a benefit for our students and take it for the better future and to make a better world. Yeah, thank you so much, Elisabeth, once again for
Thank you.
joining from Germany. This was very odd time for you, but yeah, thank you once again for your valuable time, and thank you, Sahil, for coordinating for and planning this wonderful session for the teachers.
Perfect. My pleasure. And
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much. My
much
pleasure.
for, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and teachers, the session will be uploaded on a YouTube channel that is Pune Knowledge Cluster. If you search on YouTube, you will find this session maybe in next 2-3 days. And please be patient. You will receive the certificate of participation with Ansys logo and their signatory authorities. So that is quite exciting for you guys. If you are a student, I think Ansys will add value to your CV. So be patient and follow us on social media handle for more details like such events. Yeah. Thank you so much once again. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
day
you so
or
much.
great
Yeah.
evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
ma'am.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.